Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Your Stars Align. This is Carmina, astrologer with Vedic principles and the card reader with the cards of truth. So today I'm going to do a more unusual video for this channel, right? Because I don't usually talk about transits and planets in signs and things like that, because I find them to be too general, and I don't want you to get stuck on this generality, because a lot of things can be happening in your horoscope, right? Okay, but I really wanted to do this video because I'm really excited about Venus going into Taurus, right? Because for one thing, it won't be agitated and starved, and at the same time starving the sun, right? And at the same time, it will be moving away from my 6th house. And Venus doesn't really like being in the 6th house. So, yay. Okay, so before we proceed to the transits for each ascendant, I'm just going to quickly remind you guys that on Friday, March 30th, I'm going to be co-hosting a webinar on Sagittarius Avastas, which is degrees of planetary fulfillment that reflect in the way we behave, in the more or less desirable behavior patterns, right, that we engage ourselves in, right? And yeah, this is a 4-part webinar. The first part is going to be on Friday, so I hope to see you guys there. I'm going to post a link with details in case you want to find out more about this. And for the cards of truth enthusiasts, I'm gonna be holding a class / workshop / Q&A about cards of truth on Saturday, March 31st, right? So for details on that, also make sure to check out the links below. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm going to go through each ascendant, so you have to keep in mind what your ascendant sign is, right? I also use tropical signs, right? So like in Western astrology, but with Vedic principles. And I'm also going to mention what a Bhava is, right? A Bhava is a kind of like a house, but not necessarily a house. It's like the sign location from that other sign, right? So the second Bhava is the second sign from the ascendant. The third Bhava is the third sign from the ascendant. So it's not the cusp, right? It's the Bhava. And I'm also going to say that, you know, there are these things called, you know, like critical transits, right? Critical houses. And these critical houses were given in the text Brihat Parashara Ora Shastra, and I learned about them from Ernst Wilhelm, right? So, you know, as I was saying, one of the reasons for which I don't really like doing videos about, you know, moon and whatever sign for all the ascendants is because transits are just like a piece of the puzzle, right? So dashas are like the magnetism one person creates, and the transits are things that are available in the environment. So in order for us to get those things, right, we have to also, so first of all, of course, we have to have the potential in our natal chart, because that's why some people during a favorable transit get $1 million and other people get $100, right? So we have to have the potential in our natal chart. We have to be in the right dasha, which is like the time period, to create a certain type of magnetism. And then thirdly, we have to pay attention to the transits and to the critical bhavas, right? Okay, so from Saturday, March 31st, you know, Venus is going to enter Taurus, and that's its own sign, right? So that's really good for Venus, right? It's a good dignity. what is Taurus? Taurus is the sign of stability, right? It's as Gemini says, a quadruped, right? So we are anchored in the material life, kind of, right? So when I say like material life, I don't mean it like despairingly, right? I don't mean to criticize it. It's just a fact of life. So it's a position of security, of material security, stability, and also like enjoying, you know, the material comforts, the pleasures, the sensory pleasures, because, you know, like Taurus is the face, and the face contains the mouth, right? And through not only the mouth, it contains, you know, the eyes, the ears, all the sensory factors. So all that we can experience with our senses is in the Taurus area, right? So you can get an idea of, you know, enjoyment, pleasure, like interacting with the environment, right? And yeah, let's go through the ascendants. Okay, if you are a Taurus ascendant, you're going to have Venus transiting your first house. And whenever you have a planet transiting your first house, it's going to be a time of development, because the first house is like yourself, your path, right? So that's going to be under development. And how can Venus in Taurus do that? Well, Venus can be a teacher, Venus can be a spouse. So maybe you're like develop yourself through the influence of a teacher or of a spouse, but it's going to be like some concrete development, because Taurus is like concrete, right? Okay, and also I wanted to mention that if you have a Taurus ascendant, Jupiter is transiting your 7th house for a year, right? So that means, you know, Jupiter transiting the 7th is a transit through a critical house. So how that is going to work out, it's going to be emphasizing co-creation with the partner or the public. So I think it's a nice time for Taurus Lagna, all things considered, right? Okay, let me see what else I have on my notes here. Okay, if you are an Aries ascendant, Venus is going to be transiting your... Oh, and also I wrote down here, if you're a Taurus ascendant, you also have at the moment Mercury in Aries, right? So that's Mercury in your 12th house, and that's deepening your knowledge, right? That's a deepening of knowledge. And also, yeah, you have the Sun in your 12th house. And whenever you have, you know, planets transiting your 12th house, it's a time of really of deciding either to go one way or the other. So you can't be wishy-washy when you have planets transiting your 12th house. So you either have to really invest in that planet, or you have to let go, right? So Sun and Mercury in the 12th, Sun and Mercury combination is like Buddha Aditya, is like intelligence and skill. So you either like really pursue that skillful thing you've been thinking about, or you just like let it go. Mercury is also the natural Karaka manifester for friends, right? So maybe you'll let go of some friends, or you will decide to reinvest in the relationship with that friend. Okay, let's move on to Aries ascendant. So when Venus moves into Taurus for about a month, you know, it's going to be transiting your 2nd house, right? And what is the 2nd house? It's responsibilities and environment and collections. So Venus there in Taurus, it can bring some, you know, Taurus is like the natural 2nd house, right? Because the 1st house corresponds to Aries in the natural zodiac, and the 2nd to Taurus, 3rd to Gemini, and so on. So it's kind of strengthening, reaffirmation of you taking care of your material responsibilities, right? It can also have to do with maybe your wife, right? Like your wife prompting you to take care of those responsibilities if you're a man, because Venus is the natural significator for the wife. Or maybe you will have to take care of some car-related responsibilities, because Venus is also cars, right? Or maybe you have to take care of your collections, because second house is also collections, and Venus is luxury. So maybe you'll have some luxury collections to take care of. Okay, and then for Pisces ascendant, Venus is going to be transiting the third, right? Venus doesn't really like the third house because it's an upachaya house. It's kind of a malefic house, a house that gives delayed results. But at the same time, the third house relates to communication. So it can give you, more grace to communicate. You can be a more persuasive communicator, and it can also prompt you to be more practical, because to be more practical and see what is worth communicating or not, because Venus rules, making worthwhile decisions. So hopefully, like, that will be like the best outcome for you with this transit. Let's see then. If you are an Aquarius ascendant, Venus will be transiting your fourth house. That's really nice. Like, really, if you're an Aquarius ascendant, you're gonna have a really nice time from this point of view, or other factors equal, because that will give you a better level of interior comfort, right? It's going to make you more comfortable. It's going to make you more peaceful, because the fourth house relates to the mind. Also, it can relate to vehicles. So maybe you're gonna do something to your car. I mean, you're gonna feel more comfortable in your car. You're gonna do something that makes you feel more at home and more cozy. Yeah. So then it also, the fourth house also relates to art, and Venus there, Venus is the character. Okay, then Venus if you are a Capricorn ascendant, then Venus will be transiting your fifth, and the fifth house is all about creativity. It's about children. It can also be about mantras and like devotional practices. So it can help with that if you are that way inclined. And at the same time, if you are Capricorn ascendant, Mercury at this time is still in Aries, and Mercury transiting the fourth from the ascendant is a critical house transit, right? And it gives you your share in life, especially Mercury retrograde, right? So for those of you who have Capricorn ascendant, I'm curious if you're getting like some rewards, right? Some financial compensations. Okay, then if you're a Sagittarius ascendant, when Venus goes into Taurus, it's going to be transiting your sixth house, Venus is probably the least happy in the sixth house. Venus is, about comfort, luxury, but the sixth house is like the house of obstacles, like obstacles that you have to solve with intelligence. It's like the house of enemies. It's the house of health. It can be like health issues. So worst case scenario, you'll have some problems with some women in your life. If you're a man, with your spouse, so don't make her your enemy and just wait this transit out before you do anything dramatic, right? And at the same time, though, you know, Venus is the nurse, and because, you know, it's strong in Taurus, maybe it can still help if you have some, you know, some health issues. Okay, then if you're a Scorpio ascendant, from March 31st, Venus is going to be transiting your 7th house. And, you know, that's gonna bring some romance and sex in your life, definitely, right? I'm not saying that you didn't have them so far, but it's going to be particularly emphasized now. Okay. At the same time, if you are a Scorpio ascendant, you are having Mars in the 3rd, right? Transiting the 3rd in Capricorn. And that's, you know, the 3rd house is about sibling, co-workers, but it's also, you know, a house of training, a house of, you know, strength, of developing your strength, right? So that's going to be nice for you because, you know, Mars is exalted there. Okay, then let's see. If you're a Libra ascendant, Venus is going to be transiting your 8th house. The 8th house is a tricky place, right? Because it's on the one hand, you know, it represents breaks and, you know, like hidden things and your fears, right, brought to light. But on the other hand, it's also worth, like worth of relationships and worth of things doing in the context of a partnership, right? So yeah, I guess Venus transiting there, if you are a Libra ascendant, you know, that will be even your ascendant lord, so I guess it will be more important for you. That will make you question like the worth of your relationship that you're having right now, right? And not just your romantic relationship, your business relationship as well. And it's going to make you explore like occult things because Venus is also the psychic, right? And the 8th house is the house of the occult, so maybe it's going to reignite some deeper interest in occult, like clairvoyance and like hidden things, taboo things. But it can also, like, depending on other things in your chart, it can also bring some less pleasant things, right? Like some breaks and breakups and issues with yourself. Okay, let's see now. If you are a Virgo ascendant, Venus will be transiting your 9th house. And that's really awesome. You know why? Because the 9th is the critical Bhava for Venus, right? Venus transiting the 9th is going to bring a reaffirmation to your Dharma, to your path, right? Because the 9th is one of the Dharma houses. So that's going to be like really good for you. So try to focus on that aspect of your life. At the same time, if you are a Virgo ascendant, Rahu is at the moment in Leo. So it's transiting your 12th house. And that's really critical. That's a critical transit when Rahu and Ketu go through the 12th house. So if you are, you know, a Virgo ascendant or a Pisces ascendant, you get one of the nodes in your 12th house, right? That's really important for karmic and ancestral happenings, right, in your life. So it's going to trigger some events that have to do with your lineage, with your ancestors, and of course with your path of destiny in life, right? So you're going to have some interesting times, Virgo ascendant. Okay, if your ascendant is Leo, then you'll have Venus transiting your 10th, right? Venus is not particularly happy transiting the 10th because, you know, it has normally in the birth chart it has like the least big Bala, so least operating strength, but it's very visible because it's an angle still, right? And the 10th is the place where we look at career, where we look at the father, and Venus is also one of the significators for the father. So there may be some emphasis in your relationship with your father, or you know, maybe you will be interested in Venusian activities, like pursuing some careers that are ruled by Venus, like I don't know, like a beautician, like a massage therapist, like a teacher, entertainer, and so many others, you know. Okay, so if you are a Cancer ascendant, then you're gonna have Venus transiting your 11th, right? So the 11th is the house of friends, is the house of title and rewards. So it can bring some of those things relate in a Venusian context, right? So if you're doing some Venusian related activity, you're going to have some rewards from that. You're going to make friends from being in that situation, in that career, because you know the 11th, the second from the 10th, right? So it's the worth of the 10th. So it's what you get from pursuing the activities of the 10th. So that's going to be nice. I mean, it's still an Upachaya house, like the 3rd, the 6th, and the 11th are Upachaya houses, but it's a pleasant Upachaya house, more pleasant than, you know, more distracting, but also feeling wise, I think it's more pleasant. Okay, so last but not least, if your ascendant is Gemini, then your Venus will be transiting the 12th. Okay, so what is the 12th house? The 12th house is the house of loss, the house of foreign, like really foreign and faraway places. It's the house of isolation. It can be the house of spirituality. So yeah, you can spend a lot of money on travel abroad or on other types of luxuries, on your car because Venus is the car, on your clothes because Venus is the clothes, or maybe your wife will spend a lot of money, you know. There's also like this yoga for if you have in your birth chart Venus in the 12th, like your wife will spend a lot of money or something like that, which I think is funny. But there's something to it, right? So yeah, as I was saying before, if you have a planet in the 12th house, you either have to decide whether you're gonna let go of it or invest more in it, right? So yeah, you have to make some decisions about, you know, Venus type of things in your life, about your car. Is this car worthwhile keeping, right? Because Venus signifies the car, or the wife, you know, or some luxuries. So you really have to consider the activity of that planet and whether you are ready to invest more in it, if it's worthwhile investing more in it, or whether you should just let it go. Okay, so that was about it for today, guys. So thanks for watching. Let me know what ascendant you are and what you are like really expecting from this Venus transit. And then, yeah, check out my website, yourstars-align.com, from articles and information on readings, courses, tutoring, and all that good stuff. So I'll see you guys soon. Enjoy your Venus in Taurus. Bye.